Perhaps there's no candy more recognizable than the humble M&M, the only candy that somehow marketed itself into the position to be recognizable as an entire franchise. Sure, other candies have tried. I've seen firsthand the horrors they produce at Hershey Park. Seriously, what is this thing? I'm starting to get scared. I grew up completely immersed in the world of M&Ms. Maybe my childhood wasn't as normal as I thought, actually. My favorite candy growing up was the M-Azing candy bars, and I can't tell you how many times I've seen that goddamn 1996 Santa commercial. Being as big as they are, the M&Ms eventually dipped their toes into the world of video games. Probably one too many times. It all started with M&M's The Lost Formula in 2000, a Crash Bandicoot clone with educational elements. It's more commonly known by the name it was given when it was ported to the PlayStation 1 a year later, M&M's Shell Shocked. Their crusade into the games industry slowly continued to the mid-2000s, with the release of M&M's Break'em for the DS and Game Boy Advance. This was one of the first games I ever got for my DS as a kid. It's a cute little puzzle game where you bounce an M&M around and paint it different colors to destroy blocks of that same color. Apparently it's a reskin of another game made by the same studio called Gem Smashers, but I still find it pretty charming. You know what's not good though? This one. M&M's Adventure is a simple 3D platforming game where you play as the M&Ms while you platform through different sectors of the M&M factory and collect 120 mini M&Ms scattered around it. Developed by Nikki Tova Games and published by Zoo Entertainment Inc., it was released on December 3rd, 2008 for the Nintendo Wii, DS, and PlayStation 2. Kind of. That's the mystery here. A white whale that has evaded me for nearly a decade. Despite multiple sources claiming the contrary, you have been being lied to for the past 17 years. This game never came out on the Sony PlayStation 2. But now we must ask, why? How can a game be reported as released multiple times, but disappear into the aether? What happened to M&M's Adventure on the PlayStation 2? December 2nd, 2008. One day before the official launch of M&M's Adventure in the United States. San Mateo, California. Sony Interactive Entertainment headquarters. 5:05 p.m. The weather outside is fair, about 70 degrees Fahrenheit. The presumably underpaid employee who manages the PlayStation social media accounts posts this on X, the Everything app, which was at the time known as Twitter. Check out new PS2 titles. The Tale of Despero, Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, M&M's Adventure, SingStar ABBA. Attached was a tiny URL link that led to the PlayStation website's homepage. The Tale of Despero, Chain of Memories, and SingStar ABBA all came out that very day. M&M's Adventure was slated to come out the very next day, December 3rd. December 11th, 2008. 8 days after M&M's Adventure launched on Wii and DS, San Francisco, California, IGN headquarters, 10:36 a.m. The weather outside is mostly cloudy, a little under 60 degrees Fahrenheit. An IGN writer, who is more than likely paid even worse than the PlayStation social media manager, pens an article. M&M's Adventure is released into the US market. Favorite M&M characters are now on Nintendo Wii and DS. Nikki Tova Games is happy to inform you that M&M's Adventure game on Nintendo Wii and DS formats was released into the US market by Zoo Digital on 3rd December 2008. It is the third game to be released in the last 12 months by Nikki Tova team that is based in Kiev, Ukraine. This classic 3D action-adventure platform game features 6 huge, entertaining, we might want to put an asterisk on that, and colorful levels. M&M's Adventure is aimed specifically at the under-15s market and will be a good Christmas present for the kids. We would also like to inform you that PS2 version of the game will be out in early 2009. January 6, 2009. I'm not going to recap the location or weather because it would probably be really fucking annoying at this point. 3:05 p.m. The official PlayStation Twitter account tweets out this. New PS2 games are a great way to start 2009. Check out M&M's Adventure and Hotel for Dogs. Neither of these games were ever released on PlayStation 2. In fact, this tweet is one of the only pieces of evidence that Hotel for Dogs was ever even planned for the system. IGN wrote about Hotel for Dogs a month prior, on December 4th, 2008, and seemingly never mentioned a PlayStation 2 version. I've never played the Hotel for Dogs game, but I have seen a video about the movie, so I feel qualified in saying that we probably aren't missing that much. 3 months pass. April 14th, 2009. PlayStation's Twitter account tweets out one last time. New PS2 releases. Guitar Hero Metallica and Eminem's Adventure. Hashtag PS2. After this, all announcements relating to the PlayStation 2 port ceased. For years, the PlayStation 2 port was still listed for sale on websites like Walmart, Amazon, and PlayAsia, which still has its listing for it up as of the writing of this video. PlayStation's official website had a page open for it until they closed all pages for PlayStation 2 games. The page read, "Out now." Shout out to whoever wrote the Lost Media Wiki page for this game. It was written by Balaclava with additional editing by Jack Stone. Thank you, Balaclava and Jack Stone, for your due diligence to archive Eminem's Adventure for the PlayStation 2. Years ago when I initially researched this game, there was no page, but over the years at some point, someone took the liberty to make a pretty detailed page for it, and they noticed two things I hadn't during my initial research. Firstly, they noticed that Amazon had been consistently updating the supposed release date of the game. Initially, they had it listed as ready to release on November 18th, 2008, which is almost an entire month before the Wii and DS versions ended up releasing. Eventually, Amazon moved it back to December 23rd, 2008. They then changed it to February 10th, 2009, then March 17th, 2009, and finally March 31st, 2009. It's also possible that April 14th, 2009 was also an intended release date, since that is the day of PlayStation's last tweet, and it's also what PlayAsia has listed as its release date to this day. Call me a distant dreamer, but I've always thought that it was entirely possible that PlayStation 2 copies of Eminem's Adventure were printed, just never put up for sale. Something that vindicates this further is the second thing I learned from the Lost Media Wiki. Eminem's Adventure for the PlayStation 2 was given an SLUS number, or a Sony License US number, SLUS 21875. This is a catalog number that all published PlayStation 2 games have. It is pretty rare that a cancelled game ever gets one. So if there are no printed copies of Eminem's Adventure out there, I believe it's likely that a former employee of Nikki Tova Games would have a finished ISO of the PS2 version lying around, or as finished as Eminem's Adventure could possibly look. That's all we know about the PlayStation 2 version of Eminem's Adventure as of right now. I have faith that this game is somewhere out there right now. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if someone already found it, didn't realize it was lost, and just ignored it or threw it away. Because let's be honest, if you hadn't seen this video and you saw Eminem's Adventure for the PS2 on a shelf at your local retro video game store, would you even bat an eye? No. You're reaching right next to it and grabbing a copy of Marvel vs. Capcom 2, baby! But fret not, Eminem fans, for if you're wondering what this game is like, you can easily see. Back in the late 2000s, every system from the 6th generation had died except the PlayStation 2, which still had a large install base. At the same time, the most popular system of the 7th generation was the Wii, which was underpowered compared to the other two systems of the time, and more similar to the PlayStation 2 in terms of performance. So for games that weren't cutting edge, it became common practice to make last-gen versions of these games, and have the Wii and PS2 share identical versions. There are a lot of games like this. Sonic Unleashed is a famous example. I'm not the only person who has noticed this phenomenon either, so it's safe to say that Eminem's Adventure on the Wii is more than likely identical to this lost PS2 port. So in preparation for this video, I played through the whole thing. 100%. It took me 7 hours. So let's see what Eminem's Adventure has to offer. What could PlayStation 2 players possibly be missing out on? It's the day before the holiday break at the M&M's factory. Perhaps Christmas Eve? I don't know. They're not very clear about it. The red, yellow, and green M&Ms are getting ready to clock out for the day when suddenly something happens. I guess the M&M's factory system had an error of some kind, and now all the robots are going AWOL, and 120 M&M's candies have been scattered. Oh no, a little over 2 bags of M&M's are missing. Whatever will we do? I'm not really concerned with any of this though. I'm concerned with what the fuck is happening on my screen right now. The yellow M&M is clipping through objects, the subtitles are completely desynced.
Oops for the yard.
Okay, folks, I'll just set the alarms and we can get out of here.
Some of this dialogue doesn't even make sense.
I'll just grab my wings and go out and take a look by myself then.
Least coked up factory supervisor in history. If you're an M&M aficionado like me, then you are probably well aware that typically the red M&M is voiced by Billy West, who is famous for voicing characters like Stimpy and Fry from Futurama. The yellow M&M is typically voiced by J.K. Simmons, who voices characters like Omni-Man, Cave Johnson, J. Jonah Jameson, and he's also the guy from that movie with the drums.
You sound familiar. Have we met before?
I will
you like a pig.
The green M&M is typically voiced by Cree Summers, who is known for voicing Susie from Rugrats and Number 5 from Codename Kids Next Door. You get all that? Okay, good, because none of them returned for this game. In M&M's Adventure, there are just 2 voice actors. One that seems to voice everybody, and one that voices the green M&M. I can't fault the voice actors themselves. I'm sure they've done amazing work outside of this game. Hell, the guy who voices most of the characters did Lucario in Super Smash Bros. Brawl just 1 year earlier. I can, however, make fun of the writing and the audio quality.
Sounds like the M&M bug to me.
What does this actually mean, though? It's never elaborated on or mentioned again. Does this situation happen frequently? After the opening cutscene, we're brought through a short tutorial, and then we get to the main hub area of the game. The hub features doors to the 5 main worlds of the game, with a giant M&M dispenser that fills up as you progress through the game, sitting in the center of the room. There are a few M&Ms to collect in the hub area itself that can be deposited by touching this M&M dispenser. But be careful, because sometimes when you touch the M&M dispenser, you'll turn invisible and won't be able to do anything until you restart the game. For reasons I do not fully understand, the 5 worlds in this game are all themed after holidays, ending with a boss fight against the patriarch of that holiday. In order, the worlds are Valentine's Day, Easter, 4th of July, Halloween, and Christmas. Maybe it has something to do with the M&Ms having seasonal variants, and all of the holidays in the game do indeed have M&M equivalents. However, as the #1 scholar of M&M lore, holiday-themed M&Ms are not at the forefront of my mind like that when I think about the candy, so I find this idea sort of ridiculous. All of M&M's Adventure takes place in the M&M's factory. Every level has that strong factory vibe you'd expect, and because of that, all of the levels in the world start to feel like they blend together. The worlds themselves differentiate from each other well enough though. I mean, not as well as a game that actually had multiple settings would be able to, but I could still easily pick the worlds apart at a glance. When you enter a new world, you must first play through the entire thing as the red M&M, before unlocking the ability to play through the world again as the yellow M&M and the green M&M, and take differing paths each time. At first, I was worried this would make the game extremely repetitive, but the different paths helped to alleviate this a lot, and it ended up not being much of an issue. Valentine's Day is the introductory world, and let me just say this first impression would not earn this game a second date. Despite the walls and floors being covered with pink hearts, and the ability to play as the green M&M, there is unfortunately nothing M&M's Adventure can do to make me feel horny. At the very beginning of the first level, you will immediately come face to face with one of the most common enemies in the game, affectionately named Trash Master, whose greatest asset is the ability to randomly play low-quality vacuum sound effects. Speaking of the enemies, they're unkillable. None of the characters really have any attacks to defend themselves with. The green M&M kind of has something I'll get to later, but nothing consistently works on most of the enemies. Sometimes I would accidentally kill an enemy by detonating a bomb near it, or temporarily stun one by jumping on its head, but this was iffy and usually resulted in me taking damage, which is risky business in M&M's Adventure, because this game seems to decide how many invincibility frames you get by flipping a coin, and if it lands on heads, you get hit once, but if it lands on tails, heaven. Oh, so that's what he meant. The world ends with a climactic battle against Cupid, the Roman god of love and desire. Cupid is the son of Mars, the Roman god of war, not to be confused with Mars Inc., who waged war against all 5 of my senses by funding the development of this game.
Give me back my candies, you thief. You'll never escape from here as long as I'm in charge. Na 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 na, catch me if you can.
Actually, this is the best game ever made. Not sure if you can even call this a boss fight. Cupid flies over to these power boxes in a fixed order and activates a set of 3 platforms for you to jump on so you can hit a button that damages him. Do this 5 times and that's the boss fight. Absolutely riveting. Immediately after beating the first world, you unlock the ability to play as the yellow M&M, who can double jump. This double jump isn't fully functional though, as in order to use it, you need to press jump in midair immediately, or it won't go through. This felt pretty difficult to control at times, because I often instinctively want to air stall, but if you try to do that, it just won't work. Still, he's probably the best character to play as, because any of Red's sections that you have to repeat are fairly easy to go through as him. The next world is Easter, which features a lot of running away from boulders, Crash Bandicoot style. I think the boulders are supposed to be giant peanuts, but I'm not sure. This is the shortest world in the game by far, featuring only 3 levels and a boss fight. But don't worry, they make sure to pack in the janky platforming you know and love. Now tell me, who do you think the boss of the Easter world is? Before you answer, try to remember why we celebrate Easter. It's the Easter Bunny, and he loves to eat peanuts. He makes sure to let you know this frequently.
Peanuts, peanuts, yum, yum, yum. Peanuts, peanuts, yum, yum, yum. Peanuts, peanuts, yum, yum, yum.
In this fight, you try to trick the Easter Bunny into standing on the buttons that drop peanuts for him to eat. But watch out, because you have to avoid the slowest firing cannon in the world. I'm starting to realize none of these boss fights are really that involved. After you defeat that peanut-eating fuck, your reward is the final playable character, the Green M&M. Miss Green is strange. She has two things that differentiate her from Red and Yellow. The first is her tennis racket, which they do not tell you how to use. I eventually learned it's used by swinging the Wiimote, and it can deflect projectiles shot at you and knock back some flying enemies. Her second unique trait is a peculiar gameplay decision. Here, listen to what she says when you unlock her.
Miss Green, do you mind running through all the unlocked sectors and checking them out?
Sure, I could do with a break, but I can only spend a little time in each sector before I have to come back to intercept the alarm.
She means this very literally. As soon as you enter a level as Miss Green, a timer at the top of the screen set to 8 minutes starts counting down. You now have to complete the entire world as her in 8 minutes, or else the game will eject you back to the hub area and make you replay the entire world again. Okay, so it's just a little time trial. I don't see what's so strange about Mr. LimeJinjo. Well, first of all. Secondly, the weird thing about this timer is that it just disappears after the first 3 worlds. The last 2 worlds in this game have no time limit for the Green M&M whatsoever. My guess is they removed it because they thought it would be too difficult to clear these worlds in 8 minutes, which could be true.
Yeah, that's pretty true. That's true, and yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true.
But in that case, why not just extend the timer for those 2 worlds? Why 8 minutes anyway? Actually, why the timer at all? Her reason for the timer is that she needs to be able to get back to her computer to stop the alarm from sounding every time someone enters a new sector. But no one should be doing that since Red and Yellow just stay in the office area while she's out exploring. The only other employees in this factory are holiday mascots that never leave their company-provided coliseum and a bunch of tiny robots who don't have hands so they can't open doors anyway! The third world is the 4th of July, and despite this game being made by a team of almost entirely Ukrainian people, they managed to capture the spirit of America very well. The music throughout the entire world is Yankee Doodle, which is everyone's favorite song in this country. And there are bombs everywhere. Yes, it's true! In America, we do have homunculi growing in vats. The boss of the 4th of July world is none other than the man who embodies the bleeding heart of our beautiful country. Ronald Uncle Sam, who has this ridiculously long voice line at the beginning of his fight.
Ladies and gentlemen, factory employees and M&M candies, today we are here to get a gorgeous shiny coating, which crunches in your mouth, not in your hands. To protect your chocolate cores, do not stand aside. Come close and get a perfect coat of paint from good Uncle Sam.
Keep that paint away from me, Uncle Sam.
This voice line is so long that if you're playing as the Green M&M, the devs didn't actually expect anyone to wait and hear the full voice line when you're already on a time limit, so she just doesn't say anything back to him. You fight Uncle Sam in this M&M coating area, where uncoated M&Ms pop up before getting sprayed by green coating gas, which is apparently extremely toxic. You have to trick Uncle Sam into running into the gas without touching it yourself. If you're successful, Sam will let you know by letting out a groan of questionable origins. After committing an act of treason, we're off to seek asylum in the Halloween world. The game starts to get a little harder here. The whole world is covered in these pistons that do inconsistent amounts of damage and are also inconsistent on when they'll damage you. This one section in the second level sucks. You have to cross all these moving platforms while dodging pistons, only to get to more moving platforms. Then they ask you to make a tight jump to land on a platform that also has a bomb on it. If you wait too long to try and make the jump to the bomb, you'll be accosted by this annoying bee enemy that will not stop chasing you until you're dead. Even if you make the jump to the next platform, the bee will still keep chasing you and trying to kill you. And like I said earlier, you can't kill any of these enemies. So this whole section is just being stacked against impossible odds and trying to damage boost through it all, so you can hopefully make it out on the other side. And that's the typical design for all of these levels in the last third of M&M's adventure. Non-stop damage boosting to reach the end. Oh yeah, the boss of the Halloween world is a jack-o'-lantern, blah blah blah. No one cares. Let me talk about this terrible, terrible level in the Christmas world. Jingle Bells is the second level of the final world. Okay, before I continue, let me tell you some of my most prestigious gaming achievements. I have 100% Super Mario 64 twice. I have 100% Super Mario Sunshine twice. I have 100% Sonic Adventure. I have gotten every trophy in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, and I've beaten Classic Mode on Smash 64 on the hardest difficulty with 1 stock and no continues. So when I tell you that Jingle Bells from Eminem's Adventure for the Nintendo Wii broke me completely, I hope you will take me very seriously. This level is downright dastardly. The whole level is surrounded by a sea of dubiously dangerous chocolate, which will damage you if you touch it. If you spam the jump button when you're in it, you'll take less damage, but if you don't struggle, it will sap your health and kill you rather quickly. This level consists of jumping from spinning platform to spinning platform, which doesn't sound too bad, but the issues come with how tight the timing is on these platforms that sink. Both of these platforms can be completely sunk if you don't time this part exactly right, and the level does this multiple times. When you finally get on top of these platforms, you'll have to wait spinning around on this gear for upwards of 20 seconds while this moving platform slowly works its way toward you from off screen. Dodge some bombs, and then you'll find yourself at more spinning platforms, except these ones randomly start spinning faster. This time, instead of a tight timing window, you have to work with the fast spinning platforms in order to get a farther jump. So now we have to deal with some physics-based platforming as if this were Goat Simulator or maybe even Amazing Frog on the Ouya. I can't tell you how many times I failed at this level. I died over and over and over and over and over and over and over again and again and again until finally Eminem's Adventure broke me. I had to save scum in order to beat this level. I'm not proud to admit it. I failed as a gamer by letting this licensed slop beat me, but I just couldn't do it. Every time you game over, you have to replay the whole world again up to that point. And I was so tired of doing the first level over and over again that it reached a point where I just turned off the Wii and turned it back on every time I was about to game over so that I could restart at the beginning of the level. I was eventually able to beat it at the cost of only my sanity, and my dignity, and my free time, and my— Who do you think is the boss of the Christmas world? And the final boss of the game? Could it be Santa Claus, who the M&Ms already have a troubled history with? Could it be the mischievous Jack Frost? Maybe Krampus? Generic snowman. You press buttons in order to beat him. His description says he wants friends. After finishing the last boss as all 3 characters, we have finally made it to the ending of the game. It's been a long ride, boys and girls, but we finally made it. 100% all M&Ms. Let's see if it was all worth it.
So, boys, are we all set?
You bet we are. Come on, Yellow, let's go and celebrate. It's still Christmas Eve, and the night is young. Yellow! Yellow!
One out of 5 limes. Would have been better if I could have played on my PS2. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you have any leads on the whereabouts of Eminem's Adventure for the PlayStation 2, let me know in the comments below or DM me on Twitter or Blue Sky. Thank you.